Purple Eagles Weekly is brought to you by Ant Pro Sports Elite Team Gear, Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburgers, Steve Baldo Ford in Niagara Falls, Crown Plaza Hotel Niagara Falls, the official hotel of Niagara Athletics, and by Pepsi.
And welcome to Purple Eagles Weekly here on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet. I'm Jeremy White as we have Canisius Rivalry Week. We've got a big-time show for you in terms of Niagara versus Canisius, a rivalry that's been around for a long, long time. Records go back and show the two teams played basketball in 1904. Well, we've got the Canal Cup here, and we've got lots of stories to tell and lots to preview as it is Keep the Cup Week on Niagara's campus. 4 high-profile games, 3 of those happening on Niagara's campus. And it is Keep the Cup Week, which starts the 12th and goes to the 19th. And as 3 of the games at Niagara's campus are very high-profile and very big, we'll speak to guests on each of those. It starts Saturday the 12th, women's basketball. We'll check in with assistant coach Katie Murphy to talk about that game, the matchup, and the rivalry between Niagara and Canisius. A former player can tell us what it means. Then we'll check in with men's basketball, who has a blackout on Wednesday against Canisius at the Gallagher Center. And the men's hockey team wraps up Keep the Cup Week for the Canal Cup. We'll talk to Coach Dave Burkholder about the whiteout that'll take place at Dwyer Arena. But the history of this series, the Cup is new, the series is not. Niagara and Canisius have played each other for quite a long time. Back in 2006, 2007, it was decided, let's go ahead and put a trophy on this thing and have a competition throughout sports. And this goes across women's soccer, volleyball, cross country, men's soccer, down the list throughout the entire season. Each side, Niagara and Canisius, gets points as we go along. Well, Niagara's looking to keep the cup. Winning it the first year, then Canisius got it the next 2, and you got it back just last season. And currently in the standings, it is 7-6 in favor of Niagara. So the Purple Eagles, with their Keep the Cup Week and 3 of the 4 high-profile matches at Niagara, a very important week. Also, in addition to that, there's a competition that everyone should know about. Every Niagara student should know about this as well. The Upstate New York Transplant Services is doing a contest for a blood drive. And here's how it works. On February 14th and 15th, they'll set up at both schools. And the Units Trophy is going to go to the school that donates the most blood. So in addition to the actual Canal Cup, the Battle of the Bridge for the Canal Cup, we've got the Units Trophy, recognition at the game, and bragging rights, of course, which is biggest when it comes to Niagara and Canisius. So a big show planned for you. We're going to check in with all the sports. We're going to let you know the history of this, the Battle of the Bridge, which signifies the Grand Island Bridge, the Canal Cup, representative of the Erie Canal, and of course, Niagara and Canisius, that rivalry that goes back so long. And finally, we're getting some things around the top ring of that. So the battle for the bridge and the Canal Cup. We'll check in women's basketball. We'll check in men's basketball, men's ice hockey. It's Keep the Cup Week. And as we go to break, just to kind of put a wrap on everything here on Purple Eagles Weekly, each time we go to break, we'll bring you student athletes telling their stories of this rivalry between Niagara and Canisius. Big show coming up. It's Keep the Cup Week on Purple Eagles Weekly.
Playing Canisius is the most remarkable feeling in the entire world. They are a crosstown rival, and no one wants to lose. Everyone's wanting to win, and it's a grind to be in that battle. The feeling of beating Canisius is just unexplainable, and everyone wants to win. I would say that the intensity and the emotions before the game are unbelievable. Your blood's pumping, everyone's intense and into their games, listening to their iPods, going over scouting reports because no one wants to lose. Everyone's working hard the week before practice, focusing especially because we're playing Canisius.
When we play Canisius, it's a crosstown rivalry, so naturally more people know about it, and therefore more fans show up to our games. There's a lot more hype around the game. When we have practice that week, we always know that whatever day is coming up, like that's the Canisius game. So we have to play hard, and not necessarily harder than usual, but just focus more because there's more attention put on that game.
Niagara women's assistant coach Katie Murphy, former NU player. Purple Eagles Weekly. It is Keep the Cup week here as we prepare for Niagara and Canisius. 3 games at Niagara, 4 games in the next 8 days, and a very big week for the Niagara Purple Eagles when it comes to the Battle of the Bridge and the Canal Cup. And Katie Murphy's here. Do you still have the same game that you had back then?
I'm a little washed up right now, but yeah.
Well, former player from 1999 to 2003, obviously you know what this rivalry means, an assistant coach with a women's basketball team. So how could you best express it, just what it means this week when you've got important games coming up, not just for your season, but in this rivalry with Canisius?
Absolutely. Like you said, it's been a rivalry for years and years and years, and now we have the Canal Cup for showing, and this week in particular, our girls are preparing very hard for Canisius, throwing our record out the window. Each year, it doesn't matter on both sides. If Canisius is having a tough year or if we're having a tough year, it doesn't matter. It's 0-0 coming into this week. Our girls want nothing more than to beat Canisius. It's on our home floor. It's Think Pink Week, and we're really looking forward to a very good game.
What is Think Pink Week? Tell us about that.
It's Breast Cancer Awareness Week, and it's a game in particular where our players will wear pink T-shirts that say Pink Zone on it, and it's just in memory and to raise awareness about breast cancer.
Well, the trophy itself, the Battle of the Bridge for the Canal Cup. The Cup has only been around since 2006, but the rivalry, as we've mentioned, goes way back.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
Was it kind of rewarding as a former participant that finally there's there's an actual hard piece of hardware?
It really is. Now we have something to show and to prove, and kind of bragging rights. And for us this year, or this past year, we won across the board. So we want to make sure that we keep it at our home and not give it back to Canisius.
Well, Saturday the 12th at home against Canisius. How much of an atmosphere is it against Canisius as opposed to other games? Like, can you tell that everyone's more into it?
Absolutely. All week, if you run into people at the grocery store, or if you're wearing Niagara, whether it's Canisius fans or Niagara fans, they always comment on it. Everyone in the neighborhood's aware of it, and they'll show up, and it's a really great atmosphere. And like I said, we're really, really looking forward to it. I know our girls are going to work hard this week to accomplish that.
And you went 5-3 against Canisius and swept them in your senior season. What do you remember? Is there one game from your time at Niagara that sticks out of those 8 against the Golden Griffins?
Put me on the spot here. I guess our home games in particular, just because naturally you have more Niagara fans at your home court. So anytime we're at home, you feel comfortable. You got people behind you, and I think just every home game against Canisius was memorable.
How about your time as a player? Did you have girls on the other team that you got to know them? When a rivalry is this entrenched and you're playing against another team, if there's someone who's the same year as you, you're playing against that person an awful lot. Did you have anyone that was like a nemesis or any sort of personal rivalries?
Yeah, and it goes for our players now. They play pickup with them in the summer. Some are really good friends with them. Some are not some great friends. So it goes both ways. But again, once you step over those lines, you're no longer friends, and it's a rivalry, and both teams are just going to grind it out and give it all that they have. I played Empire State games with a bunch of the girls on Canisius. I became friends with them, but again, when I stepped over the line, no longer friends.
Oh, it's good to keep things cordial, because I think sometimes when rivalries happen, you could see one of those players after the fact. 5 years later at the grocery store, and you'll say, Canisius.
Yes, absolutely.
It still happens.
Absolutely. Yep. If I ran into any of those girls, I'd probably, I'd either brag that we won the last, 3 games or whatever, or, they might say, oh, I blocked your shot. You never forget the Canisius Niagara.
So last question before I let you go.
Absolutely.
How do you make sure that you don't overlook the games leading up to it? Because how far out when it's Canisius that you're looking at? Keep the Cup week this week. How far out do you actually start to look at Canisius? Is it beginning of the year you circle it and then you kind of stow it away for a little while?
Yes, no, absolutely. You take note of it. You might know what week it is, but you never prepare too soon for it. We go game by game. We have a full week of preparation this week, and I know our girls, whether it's something in particular in their locker, maybe it's a picture of the Canal Cup, or maybe it's someone that they really want to get after on the court. Each individual has their own preparation and what gets them going, but we never really prepare too soon for it. So,
well, best of luck Saturday.
Thank you very
much. The women's
much.
basketball team taking on Canisius in the Battle of the Bridge for the Canal Cup. The Pink Zone as well will be representing. Up next, men's basketball. They go from women's basketball Saturday to men's basketball next week. It's a blackout. It's a big game. They're all tied into the Canal Cup. More student athletes telling us their stories of Niagara Canisius here on Purple Eagles Weekly.
Games against Canisius are always a lot more amped up. I know every year we go into them thinking that we can win because I know that they're thinking the same way. If they win against us, that's basically a good season for them. All 3 years that I've been here, we've won. We came out on top. So taking that W from them really means a lot.
Playing Canisius, it's more than just a game. It's about going out there as a team, dedicated to winning and trying our best. It's always intense because it is a rivalry with Niagara. And every time we go out to play, we always go out with the intent to win.
Back here on Purple Eagles Weekly, it is Keep the Cup week for Niagara and Canisius, the Battle of the Bridge for the Canal Cup. Jeremy White back with you. We checked in with women's basketball, right to men's basketball, and associate coach Luke Dobrich, former player, plenty of experience in this rivalry between Niagara and Canisius. So, we're getting a lot of sharing of memories and previewing of the matchup. So it'll be Wednesday, a blackout at the Gallagher Center. Everyone's encouraged to wear black. What does Canisius Niagara, what does that really conjure up in your head when you think about the rivalry?
Well, I played 4 years against Canisius, and now this is my 8th year coaching. And it's a rivalry game, and it's really a game for the fans and for the students. They really get excited about it because of the history and the long standing competition between the two schools. But they really get excited for it. The fans and the students get excited to have bragging rights for a particular year. The players and the coaches, we try to take it as just another game. We want to win every game that we play. We want to prepare well for every game that we play, and that's what we're going to do this week.
Do you get a sense, because this cup, this Across Athletics Cup, it unifies the women's basketball team with the men's basketball team with volleyball. Do you get a sense that perhaps the support is just because of that, because it's the entire university all kind of coming together as one?
Sure. I think that this new cup here and what the two schools decided upon is something to bind your schools together and compete against Canisius.
You played with Niagara from 1996 to 2000 before the cup actually existed, but the rivalry was still very strong. I mean, it's just a regional rivalry, and I'll ask you the same question I asked Katie. How about relationships with guys on the other team? Whether it was a nemesis, a rival, did you form those personal relationships throughout that series?
Kind of a little bit. You know those guys a little bit better than you know the other teams that you play. But again, once you start playing that game, it's just like any other game when that ball gets thrown up there. You're trying to win the game, and it doesn't matter who you're playing.
And of course, a conference game. So it's the kind of thing where we're talking about a rivalry, but there's something else at stake too. When you're talking about playing inside the MAC, these are big games.
Absolutely, it's a conference game and it's a rivalry game. So it means something, within your league to finish your standings and to prepare for the conference tournament.
How about preparing some of the younger guys, some of the freshmen for? It's a conference game, so they know it's important. Is there any sort of message to the senior players? Will Anthony Nelson mention to the young guys, like, hey, this is Canisius, it's a little bit different? Yeah, he definitely will do that and just say, these games are always usually pretty close. No matter what either team's records are, they're usually down to like the last 4 minutes of the game, and you got to be ready for it because the intensity level is going to be up a little bit higher. Well, a little bit of a change over on the coaching staff. You've got a new title, associate coach, and in terms of the group that's in with Joe Mahalik, some new faces. So I guess as you're looking at this season, a game against Canisius this week will be very important. But where does it fit in the body of work for the whole season? It's been a different kind of year for you guys. Yeah. So I guess what's it been like? And what have you been learning from it? Well, we have a young team. We've had to deal with some adversity this year, and we knew it was going to be a little bit of a rebuilding type of year. And we're just trying to get better every single day, every practice, preparation for a game, in-game things, learning how to play on the road, learning how to win on the road, learning how to finish games off, all the little details that it takes to win games. It's hard to win games at this level, and some of our young guys are learning that right now, and hopefully it's going to pay off down the road. Do you see it? Do you see that growth? You say you're looking for these little things along the way. Are you noticing it?
Yeah. You notice it with certain guys that we're starting to figure it out. We were playing against some better teams in the league, and we were close, just couldn't finish it off. And I think our guys are learning from those experiences that you have to pay attention to every single little detail, and that's what they got to do to win.
And maybe a little bit of bulletin board material for your own players. Anthony Nelson had a pretty monstrous dunk, was featured on ESPN. So around the locker room, inside the room, how often do guys just really kind of, how many times have you watched it? How many times has the team watched it?
I'm sure the team watched. I'm sure Anthony watched it a ton. It was pretty nasty dunk. He had an unbelievable game yesterday. He had a triple-double. It was one of the first triple-doubles maybe that's been recorded in Niagara in a long, long time, if not ever. He had a wonderful game, and I just feel great for him as a senior. Had 14 assists, which is a staggering number. So.
And it would probably be big for him to go out in this rivalry with a win.
Oh yeah, I mean he wants to. It's a senior year. He wants to win every single one of these games, and winning against Canisius on Wednesday night would help that.
Associate Coach Luke Dobrich, as the men's basketball team tries its luck in the Canal Cup Series, and that'll be a blackout at the Gallagher Center. So if you're going to the game, you're encouraged to wear black. That's Wednesday the 16th, Niagara and Canisius at the Gallagher Center. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks for having
me. Next up, men's hockey. It's a little bit of a different dynamic this year for men's hockey. The rivalry's already been there. We'll talk with Dave Burkholder as these two teams are newly in the same conference. Atlantic Hockey featuring Niagara and Canisius. It's coming up next here on Keep the Cup Week on Purple Eagles Weekly.
Swimming against Canisius is pretty intense. It's something that we look forward to all season because they're our biggest rivals. So we train differently. We become more focused, I guess, in practice. And yeah, that's it.
It's different than playing any other team. It's like when you come off the golf course, first thing you do is look at the leaderboard and see if you beat them. Obviously you want to win the tournament first thing, but the next step is just hopefully Canisius is below us.
You can see it with the mental focus with the entire team, all the way from our training habits to our sleeping patterns. That plus the intensity the rivalry brings to the table, I think just makes us that more amped up to come out and swim very well.
The Meet the Coach segment brought to you by the Crown Plaza Niagara Falls, the place to meet. Back on Purple Eagles Weekly, part of Keep the Cup Week here on Time Warner Cable Sports Net. And the Purple Eagles have 2 games against Canisius on the ice. Head coach Dave Burkholder joining us here as we talk about the Battle of the Bridge in the Canal Cup. And for you guys, it's also big, but it's new because now joining Atlantic Hockey for the first year, you're talking about a crosstown rivalry, but you're also talking about big-time, very important conference games.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's different, and it's a different feel in our locker room. Now that we're in the same league, I think we can start using the R word, and they're big. And, the game early in the season at Canisius, 6-5 overtime game, the momentum swings and the emotion. I mean, it's a big deal. And it's a big deal for, Luke said it best, for our fans and for our alumni, for our administration. It's a big deal. So we need to take that very serious and have a lot of pride. And obviously we need to knock them off.
Do games like the first one, which was 6-5 overtime, as you mentioned, games like that, you've been on the winning end of those games, on the losing end of those games. Are those the kind of games that can actually make a rivalry even stronger? Because if you're on their end, they lost at home in overtime 6-5. And with all the swings, you're thinking you've got revenge on your mind.
No question. They got off to a lead. We came back. Then they scored a shorthanded goal to take the lead. We stormed back. I mean, the swings were unbelievable in that game. So I'm sure that's going to be on their minds. We're going to have a good feeling going back into their rink, positively with the win that we did have. So, but anything can happen in these games, and they're points. They're points in our pod, and they're points in our standings. And, right now it's such a logjam at the top. I mean, we're still fighting for first place in a regular season championship. No one's really eliminated from that yet, so they're huge league points for sure.
Thursday at Canisius, Saturday back at home at Dwyer. That'll be the whiteout at Dwyer Arena, so fans are encouraged to wear white on the 19th. You talk about the logjam at the top, and for a while it's been RIT, Niagara, Robert Morris fighting for those top 3 spots, and that's pretty much the way that it still looks. Mm-hmm. So as you come down the stretch here, you've got very important games in the conference. Do you sense in the locker room that regular season championship and that seeding in the playoffs How often is it talked about? How often are the players thinking about the bigger picture?
Well, speaking for the coaching staff, we think about it daily, probably too much, self-inflicted stress. But like you say, it's been so refreshing being in this league and 12 teams and with 6 to go, we still have a chance at the regular season title, and that's all you can ask for as a coach. So, but I know our guys are stat rats, and they're on the computer, and so they know what's at stake, and every weekend's been huge.
And against Canisius, Paul's the net at a big game last time. You're, of course, looking to your big line once again. Zinet and Haychick right up near the top of the country in goal scoring. So against Canisius, you'll be looking once again to the big guns.
Yeah, we're going to go as far as our senior class will take us. Paul's had a career year, still leading the nation in goals with 23. That's an amazing stat. And then to have Brian Haychick, his line mate, with 22. And if you think about it, it doesn't happen in hockey a lot. It's usually if one guy has 23 goals, the other guy has 22 assists or 23 assists. But they're sharing the puck, and it's truly one of the biggest stories nationally to have 2 guys, 1-2 in the country in scoring.
And as we're talking about rivalry games, we're almost out of time here, but I think you tell me if you feel the same way. When you're talking about games between crosstown rivals, it's the visiting fans. When Niagara goes to Canisius, and a little bit when Canisius comes here, that kind of gets the blood boiling a little bit better atmosphere.
Unbelievable. And that's why our kids train hard. That's why they want to play Division I athletics, to be able to play in games that mean so much, and the fan base to be there, and it's a great feeling, and that's why these guys do what they do.
Dave Burkholder, head coach of the Niagara men's hockey team. It is Keep the Cup week at Niagara. Canisius is trying to get it 4 high-profile games. Women's basketball the 12th, men's basketball the 16th, and then a pair of games for the Purple Eagles men's hockey team the 17th and the 19th. Best of luck to the Purple Eagles. The Battle of the Bridge, the Canal Cup. It rages this week. Saying goodnight from Time Warner Cable Sportsnet. This is Purple Eagles Weekly.